Buddy, what's going on? We are live. Let me go ahead and make sure we're actually running on Facebook here. Oh my goodness, it's not running on Facebook. Gotta be kidding me.
Dude, I had a heck of a time trying to log
Oh,
in.
there it is. Okay, so now we're popped up. Yeah, I know. Okay, there we are. So now we're live on Facebook. Real Estate Blitz, KSA Kris here. Here we go. Let me pull up your stuff. Boom, let me hide that so everybody can see who's on. I'm actually pretty excited. It looks like both of us are running around because, we have the fires going on. So a lot of our team was evacuated last night, and I've been calling around. It looks like you're out in the desert. You out there? What are you doing?
I'm in Arizona. I'm investing in family stuff.
Nice, man. Awesome. But we got Brent on today. And if you all don't know, Brent is kind of a big deal. Outside of just being an amazing person, an individual, he's a hell of a team builder. And that's really what I wanted to focus on today with you, if you're good with it. Just because I get a ton of questions. People hit me up all the time about building teams. And what's cool about you is that you haven't just built a team in Arizona, but you built a team in Carlsbad. And it's more than that. I mean, it's really a brokerage the way that you built it, which is kind of cool, right?
Yes, yeah. So I started off as an individual agent, developed into building a team, got heavy in the bank business years ago, started the brokerage as well, grew the brokerage in Arizona to like 320 agents, I think was our top end. And then we opened California, got it to about close to 100 agents at one point. And now we sold Arizona, and now I'm just running California. And I'm still running a team in Arizona, though.
Right. So you're still running a team out there. And man, and to me, that's just kind of magic because I don't think a lot of people aspire to do something like that, but they're not even sure where to start. And I think starting is one thing, but understanding the growth process that has to take place in order to actually obtain what you've done. It's a lot, you know?
And you can't do it by yourself. I mean, it really, you have to have a good group of people that are willing to work as a team. And that's probably the most important element. And then trying to, figure out your vision of what it looks like and know that you're going to go downs through that and just navigating through the course of that. And then, starting a team when you have a tremendous amount of business is by necessity. And a lot of people are trying to start a team to grow it into a business so they can profit off of it. And a lot of them are premature on, running a team.
It's funny because I have all these questions and I usually try to do show notes, but then people start talking. I'm like, yeah, I have the show notes, but this is actually more important. You just said something that to me is absolute magic that a lot of people need to hear. So I'm going to re-say it one more time and then ask you about it one more time. I'm even seeing it where people are building teams because they think by building a team, they're going to grow or build a business as opposed to building a business and then basically growing a team because they have so much business. And I almost feel like people are building it in a very backwards or broken way. So what are your overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that you have to have your vision in place prior to saying, oh, I'm just going to get a website. I'm going to spend a whole bunch of money on leads. And then we're going to have a whole team of buyer agents. And then we're going to figure it out from there. I don't know if that's necessarily the best scenario in a lot of the markets out there. Some of the markets, it makes sense. The Phoenix market, there's plenty of first-time home buyers, plenty of veterans. Everybody can buy a house at $200,000, and it's probably probably 1,500 to 2,000, depending on what area you're in. And the leads are plentiful. So if in Southern California, in San Diego, that's not the case. It's you're going to spend a whole bunch of money to acquire a client, and your client acquisition cost might be $1,000, $1,500, where there's not enough, or you're not going to be able to spend enough in order to get enough to support yourself, an assistant, a second assistant, a buyer's agent, a listing agent, and so on and so forth. Unless your budget's starting 5, 6, 7 grand, then you can start affording that. But at that point, you're going to be generating a ton of buyer business, and the real estate business should be based off of listings. And I've always been a listing agent. I'd rather deal with listings even if it means not having business at times in order to make sure that you do get listings, and make that your foundation.
Right. I think listings are definitely the name of the game. I know we're retooling a lot of stuff for 2018 because we grew from 4 people to 20. And we're retooling a ton of stuff right now to go into 2018 to where the listing business, it literally feeds everything else if you do it appropriately without the overhead or costs. And I think what a lot of people are doing is that they're shelling out the capital, a lot of money to create the buy side, where if you control the listing side anyways, there are like way cheaper ways of creating an endless supply of buyers and opportunities and lead captures if you have the listing business,
Yep, that's the foundation of all real estate businesses. That's the correct way to build a team, is to set your foundation of getting listings that's working FSBOs, working expires, working your database. And in Southern California, which I know a lot of your viewers are in the San Diego and Orange County areas, maybe inland, but listing is really list to last. And I've been through a tremendous amount of ups and downs in marketplaces, tremendous ups and downs in the brokerage business, in the team business. And I'll tell you what's going to last is a solid foundation of going after the listings. And it's a hard concept. This is the biggest thing in real estate. It's a hard concept to understand that because it's a different skill. You get a first-time home buyer and they're excited to go buy a house. They're pretty much your client unless you really screw up, right?
Right.
Now, it's a different set of skills to go after a home seller that needs all their money out of that property and doesn't know who to hire, right? Whether they're going to hire their friend, their neighbor, their family member, they're going to hire the neighborhood expert, or they're going to hire you calling them and giving them a script that works, right? Because you're saying correct that they want to hear that you're going to sell their house and get it sold and closed in that time appropriation that they want. And I think that's really a different skill than the buyer business. And it's a harder skill, right? It's more rejection on going on listing presentations, and less rejection getting a first-time home buyer and your willingness to help them, and they're willing to, let you work for free until they buy a house, right?
Right.
So it's totally different skill set. And if you're going to last in the real estate business, you either need to be on a team and handle as many buyers as possible. And if you can find those right teams, and some of them are structured that way. I think that you're fairly structured that way. Or if you're solo or you have an assistant or something, your main focus 70% of the time needs to be after listings.
Right. And you brought up something that I definitely wanted to ask. So, and I'm going to take some notes. One of the big ones was I heard, at the Tom Ferry event, which goes every year, Summit, Tom Ferry, which this is whenever you start hearing the gurus talk about certain things, it's kind of, it's like, okay, here we are. He basically said you either need to join a team or build a team. And that's really his view on where the real estate industry is right now. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think there's there's some truth to that. I don't know if it's all the way true, just because there's a lot of talented real estate agents that are solo operators, right? And they have an assistant. They already have an established business, and for them it doesn't make sense because of the finances, right? Unless you're going to get a really, really high split and you're still going to be able to brand yourself, it's a loose team, then that's okay. But there's enough people out there, if they have overflow leads, and this is what I've done, is I don't want to be responsible for everybody's business as the lead generator. That's just not my model. My model is, hey, I'm going to generate a bunch of leads. The overflow, I'm sending them out, and I'm going to get 50% referral fees on that. And I found that model works for me, and It doesn't work for other people. I'm not in that business to just, figure out how to build a team and then someday I'm going to sell the team and all that. So that doesn't make sense. But for a lot of agents, if they have clientele, they've been in the business 5, 10, 20 years, it really isn't going to make a lot of sense for them to join the team, only for the fact that unless they need the systems, right? I'll put a caveat there. If they don't have any systems and they're a complete mess in their business,
right,
for that, right? But if they have, hey, I'm doing 20, 30 deals a year, I'm happy with that. I have weekends off and most of my stuff's listings. Those people, they're probably not going to join a team. They're not good for a team because entrepreneurial and they're typically, I don't want to say this, but they're just established. So the mindset to join a team at that level is completely different. All of us people that have run teams and are running teams want to hire that person for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give them 90% in order to get them on the team. And I don't know if that's lucrative for the team itself, which, you're giving away all your profit. You're probably paying them to join your team at that point, especially if you're getting the leads. So
Yeah. I think it's a value add. That's the way I've always looked at it. I mean, we have people that have been in the business a lot of years. We've had people, like one of the guys that's on our team has been in the business for 10 plus years before he joined. He was already a top producer and the top producer for the brokerage, but he had his own intentions when he came over. It was, basically expanding. And we have a few people like that on our team, basically changing, reinventing themselves, moving into the, where the future of real estate is at the moment. Looks like we got Christian Stone. I don't know if you saw that pop up on your phone. Let me go back to that. Christian Stone says, dude, the man. So he's got you on there. And looks like Drew put up something. He says, hey, Brent. KSA Drew here. What type of formal training programs do you feel is important for an agent thinking of creating a team? How do you hold agents accountable and support them in their goals? That's a question that Drew asked.
You know what, Drew? I think the biggest point is, what are you trying to get out of your business and out of a team? Are you trying to leverage time? Okay, that's a huge thing, especially if you have kids and you're going, like I coach football, I've got 2 kids, and my daughter's in cheerleading. Matter of fact, my family's in Florida right now, and I didn't go because I'm busy and I had to go to Arizona. But, it's what are you trying to leverage? Are you trying to leverage money? Are you leveraging time? Are you going to try to build something to sell? What is it you're trying to do? Because there's a lot of people out there that are only after the ego rewards. And I say that, it's a interesting thing in real estate that people are building businesses and they're really of scale, but they're not profitable. And I've been there, and that's a major issue. You got to figure out what it is that you want out of it. For training systems, there's a ton of training systems. Helixson, that's going to be on after me. I mean, he's got a ton of training systems. I think a foundation of a Mike Ferry foundation is the most profitable in the business as a training system, not only for Mike, but also for an agent and a team that's on Mike Ferry stuff, because there's no expenses on buyer business. There's no expenses on online lead generation and all of that. So hopefully that answers your question.
I think that's a great question. I think it's a great answer too. And I would even say I'm starting to see different variations. I mean, like I said, we're even retooling from what we've learned in 2017. I think when I see what Tom Ferry's sort of preaching, when I see what Mike Ferry's preaching, they're extremely different. I think after experience now with what we've built, I'm more of a Mike Ferry based fan. But it is what it is. Yeah. So it looks like Christian Stone's popping in. He's a big Mike Ferry fan as well. So I definitely agree with you there. And for those that are watching this, take that into account, because the Real Estate Blitz, we talked a lot about different types of coaching programs and also brokers and brokerages, which is going to be my next question to you. What's your view? Because I have my view, and I think I'm pretty open about my view online. When it comes to brokers, but brokerages, are we looking at, if somebody wants to build a team or has a team or they want to run a different way, do you believe in flat fees? Do you believe in, are you a Keller Williams fan? Are you into franchises? What do you think?
I think all of them have their place, right? So I'm a fan of a lot of the brands, right, for needs. Southern California, luxury, coastal, I think brands are okay, right? But if you have your clientele, then it's not going to matter. If you move to a certain location or you're brand new in real estate, brands meet a lot of people, and that's what gives them the confidence to go sell. You have sales skills and you have a coach, and let's just say it's one of the coaches that we've mentioned, or anybody else that's really hard on you to make the phone calls to do your job and to try to figure out what are you going to do every single day before noon to advance your business. That's the most important, right? And so if you know your market, pricing, you know what the good deals are, the bad deals are, you know how to sell and get people to sign contracts, then I don't think a brand's going to matter. So as far as it, it goes back to the vision of what your business needs to look like, whether the flat fee works for you or not. I think it's getting more challenging out there for brands because of the flat fees. And this is why all the coaches are employed right now from agents, because most brokers don't offer a whole lot of value to their agents. And on the flip side of that, I'll give you a caveat. A lot of the agents don't respect the brokers enough to understand why they put those tools in place and how to use them. They don't spend the time.
Right.
And that's a major issue. So you have this culture at fighting, you have your culture of your company fighting the habits, and they're bad habits of many, many agents, right? Then you have it fighting the work ethic. And that is what's disrupting all of the agents' businesses, or most of them anyway, let's say 90% of them. And that's what's thriving coaching companies. That's what's thriving 100% companies, because why do you want to pay a huge amount when you're not getting tools like Vulcan 7 or Cole's Directory or, RedX or, websites or stuff like that. So like I run my brokerage somewhat as a team, only for the fact that I provide tools like Vulcan 7, Cole's Directory, Rebo Gateway. I provide conversion as a website lead generation tool if they want the technology. I will coach them if they need that. I will train them on different stuff. We have a broker that's 30 years in the business. So we have everything but it's more of a team, because I expect every one of our other agents that's at the company to help the other agent. That's very, very important to me. And if I have an agent that won't help the other person, then they're not for my company. And
Right.
that's team mentality, right? And because I want everybody to rise. And
Yep.
back to fighting work ethic, and everybody has things that goes on in their lives that potentially becomes issues. So
Right. I think in order for brokerages to progress, they have to take on the idea, mindset, and concept of culture first and build it almost like a team. You have to build it like a team in order to justify what they're doing. And to me, you hit on something a few times now. You talked about value add. What is the broker giving? And most of the time the brokers give nothing, but they always have their hands out. Then when you look at a flat fee, they're giving nothing, but they don't have their hands out. They're usually making their money on auxiliary businesses. So if a brokerage actually wants to make money, because I think a flat fee model, you literally have to trim it completely down and then talk up the auxiliaries. It's not a profitable model unless it's in volume. If you want to be a boutique that's going to compete with what's coming and what's here and where it's going to be in the future, it's all about value add. What are you going to give, and what's the overall culture in there? And, why let them go to a team when you could actually create a team and basically run it the same exact way? But that's just my opinion. I think that's the future of real estate. And that's why I think a lot of the older mom and pop brokerages are just dying off right now.
well, yeah, they have to grow, and you lose interest. The business is really tough for brokerages. So you have to have escrow or title or lending as partners, or potentially own them in order to decent money off of that. You're not going to get rich in the brokerage business unless you're going to leverage one of the big brands, and you're just going to go in acquisition mode. You have to acquire companies in order to do that. Otherwise, it's just not going to make sense. But most of those companies, when they're offering 85-15 split, or maybe, I think there's a competitor in San Diego that's doing like a 17% split, and there's a ton of 100% companies and stuff. When they're offering those type of deals rather than 80-20, they have given away everything as the company, and they have to make money on their escrow. They have to make money through lending. And if the agents don't support them, there is going to be no company, right?
Right.
Important. But escrow and title and lending, they know, okay, well, I'm going to skip the broker. I'm going to go directly to the agent, right? And so you have that going. Then the challenge with the brokerage business is all the information out there is free. So back to what you said, Kris, is your culture is what's going to drive and thrive the company. because if all information is free out there and you can just Google it and YouTube it and look it on Facebook and look at what we're doing right now, right? We're giving tools and tips in real estate how to grow your business, and that's what a broker should be doing for their agents. But like I said, are the agents paying attention to that? Are they asking for that help? Because there's a lot of smart brokers out there that will really advance their agents' paychecks and careers and business to really stabilize them and get them through the peaks and valleys if they had enough nerve to ask. Because most brokers will help them.
Right. That's cool, man. And we're running out of time pretty quickly. So I'm going to cut through some of the stuff that I have, but I want to get at least 2 more questions in. And then I want you to put it out there because I know you're in Southern California. There's a lot of agents out here as well. They're in Southern California. It's Christmas time. That means people are looking. So this is an opportunity for them to maybe look at you. It looks like Daniel sent, "Hey, Daniel, what's going on, man? As an agent who joins a team, how should you look at your future? Should you strive to start your own cell, or should you try and become a team leader?" It's a good question, Daniel.
I'll take that, Daniel. Daniel, thanks for asking a question. I think it really is what's in your heart and, what kind of money you want to make, because the money is in the sales business. I would make 10 times more money if I was just in the sales business. And I've grown to 400 agents before, back down to, I don't know, probably 60 something right now, and probably 30 of those are active. And deals are really tough to come by. Listings are really tough in Southern California to come by, especially when agents are not trained on the phones. Right? Let me get back to
everybody fights that. And we even talk about it in our own business. It's like, why are you fighting? You have to be on the phones. It's to me, it's not an option.
It's hands down, that is the only advice. If I'm an agent out there, that's the only advice I would accept, is I have to be on the phones, calling FSBOs, calling expireds, calling my clientele, asking for business, door knocking. If you're in Southern California, you're not door knocking year round, you're making a huge mistake. If you just door knock 100 doors a day, it's gonna be terrible in some cases, but you don't have to be in the office. But you're gonna get leads every single day. So no complaining, and because the business is out there, you just have to go search and find it. So if you think about it that way, you don't need technology. Just go talk to people, and talk to a lot of them, because it's a numbers game. Business has not changed, and I don't think it's going to change that much in the future, even with Zillow, even with all these other ones, because it's still an emotional connection to the property that they're going to buy for their family.
Right. It's a belly-to-belly business,
Yeah, it is. And you can't tell me that, okay, I'm going to get a better price online, but then as soon as I buy it and it's back to a street and there's power lines and the foundation's cracked and I've got to dump $40, $50, $60,000 in this property, and then I got to take a hit when I resell it in a weaker market, when it's not a strong list seller's market and it's a buyer's market, you can lose $100,000 just like that in real estate. And that's what the technology tools that are out there cannot fix. They can't fix that emotional transaction, right? They can fix transactional stuff. They can fix that with blockchain and everything else that's coming out. I get that. And when it's a seller's market, there's low inventory and everybody's making money on real estate like they have for the last 8 years, then it's easy. But I think Compass got $450 million investment in their company to try to figure this thing out. Well,
yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Guess what? That $450 million, bye-bye. That's gone. That, because it still goes back to how are you going to get the listings? And
no doubt, man.
Your business.
So I'm going to ask you one last question.
Sure.
Last question. What is your number one recommendation for real estate agents out there that are trying to build a killer business in 2018? What's your number one recommendation?
Now, number one recommendation is put more love into your clientele and that you have. And if you don't have clientele, you have to gain the knowledge and skills of becoming a listing agent. And Christian Stone, that was on here earlier.
He's a beast.
Absolute beast. Chris, you're a beast of what you've done, and you understand those principles. And I think that you have to become a listing agent to list to last. And then when you acquire that clientele, you have to figure out, how am I going to maintain this clientele for life? And be happy with being a listing agent that's listing 40, 50, or 100 homes a year, and then figure out how to leverage your time. But it's going to take work, and that everybody wants a fastest track to success. Guess what? There's no fast track to success.
There's no fast track. I say it over and over and over, and it just blows my mind. Because when I went to an event earlier in the week, or maybe it was, I think it was earlier in the week, and there were a few people that came up to me and were like, yeah, so like basically asking for the magic pill, and I'm like, that's almost like saying, hey, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm just going to get ripped. Now, there are things that could maybe help you go faster, like, I don't know, steroids. But there's negative steroids for one. For two, if you take steroids and still don't work out, you just become a giant lump of crap, right? So they still don't. You have to still do work, even if you're taking steroids. And that's, well, if I get sick, that's going to fix it. No, you still have to do work. Well, if I get this other system, if I get Mojo, that'll fix it. No, you actually gotta pick up the phone and do it. And I think people get lost. They think that there's they're always looking for that next thing. Well, if I call this person, or if I take that thing online because it showed up in my Facebook feed, that'll get me there. And I'm like, no, you have to work.
You have to look at the discipline that's involved with, and the process that's involved with becoming a great listing agent. And it takes a tremendous amount of time that you're practicing every day. And then you're going to fail 1,000 times before you're even going to be any good at all. And I think that's really hard to do day in and day out. But the great listing agents that end up becoming great, they've done it for a year, 2 years straight, failed every day, right? They're okay with failure. And they keep on getting back on the phone. And they went on a listing presentation, they failed. They went on another one later on that week, and they got it, right? So
right.
Ups and downs, that the wins and losses, if you just limit the emotional tie to those, and say, okay, just another day.
But it's tough. That's tough in the beginning. I remember, Kim, it's funny because my wife's in here. I remember I was making a phone call one day, and I was maybe 5 or 10 minutes into my call session. This is when I first started cold calling. So this is a few years ago. And this person just started cussing and yelling, and it literally took everything out of me. Now, at the time, I was still an active duty Marine. I got yelled at and cussed at all the time. But
right.
it emotionally shut me down to where I quit making calls that day. Like, I didn't even get back at it. And one day, just, I think it was like the next day or the day after, Kim and I were talking. I'm like, you know what? You just got to get this attitude of whatever. It just, you embrace the suck, let it wash off you. And let's just keep cooking, keep refining, keep changing, if everybody is yelling at you, it's your fault. You're doing something wrong. What can I adjust? I started recording myself. I started listening to what was coming out of my mouth. I started working on my scripts. I started role playing. I know Christian Stone does a ton of role playing. I started role playing my stuff. I started figuring out, okay, am I talking too much here? Do I need to trim it down? Am I not talking enough? And like yesterday, so I was at a lunch with Paul Neeb, Joe Caspel. I don't know if you know Joe. We were all hanging out, and then this one guy, he has his license, but he's never done a deal. And Paul's like, hey, man, I just got, Paul's a lender. Paul's like, hey, man, I just got this lead in from my VA, wants to sell his house. You want to take it? Sure. So I take the phone. I'm on Paul's phone. I just start talking to the guy. Immediately, he's like, I'm not looking to sell. If you have a buyer that's there to buy it. So I was like, but I've done it so many times that I'm like, okay, let's go to the script. And I ran down the script. And I don't know, it was probably 2-3 minutes. And so I'm scrambling today because as soon as I get off the phone with Michael Hellickson, I had that listing appointment. So it was just, okay, well, great, fantastic. Yeah, I can bring somebody this and the other. Tell me, oh, okay, so why didn't it sell? Oh, it didn't sell because of this reason. Well, it turns out, we have this and this is what we can do. Really? Oh, yeah, fantastic. Okay, so let's put together an appointment. I'm going to come over. I'm going to show you what it's really worth, how we're going to do it, and then we'll sign some paperwork and we'll get your property on the market. How's that sound? Oh, that's great. That's all I was looking for. Fantastic. That was an expired. It was just an expired. But it's just, I've done it so many times.
Well, that, the fear. You're taken away by asking questions and having a plan and being strong enough to close them, right? That's what they want.
That's a huge one. Yeah, not many people close. They won't close.
You're taking away the stress, you're taking away the fear, and you're solving the problem, which is the biggest issue that sellers want. They want somebody that's professional. They want somebody that's going to make sure it's okay, because they don't want to make the wrong decision, because they're getting so much feedback and from their friends and families and their neighbors. Oh, you should list it here. You should do this. And nobody there, even though they may love them to death, they're not looking out for their best interest in the real estate space because they're not the professionals. And the sellers know that, even though it's going to be there. You have to handle some of those objections, but they really want a professional listing agent to come in there and say, hey, it's going to be all right. I'm going to take away the stress. You're not going to have to go through this stuff. By the way, all your friends and families and neighbors, just send my telephone number and I'll talk to them about why we're doing this.
That's magic, dude. Absolute magic. So real quick before we get off, because I do have to, I have to keep moving. And I know you do too, because you got the family, man. You're going to go out and have some fun. How can people reach you, find you, if they want to ask you more questions, if they're looking to change brokerages, or if they're looking for guidance, maybe they, whatever that might be, how can they find you?
My phone number is, I have two phone numbers. I'll give you 602-502-3195. 602-502-3195. That's my cell I carry most of the time. My California phone number is 760-473-5435. And Brent@teamconley.com is my email address. My company, we're in Orange County, we're in Temecula, we're in San Diego, Solutions Real Estate, solutionsrealestate.com. And then in Arizona, I'm actually with my home group. And Scottsdale, great. Have them, actually, I'll have the owners get on your show. I'm going to see them tonight at the Christmas party in Scottsdale. But phenomenal brokerage. These guys have done an amazing job at growing their company. It is a 100% company there, and they have a tremendous amount of top producers, and they're freaking rocking over, I think, 1,100 agents or something.
Wow.
And they did it in like 3 years. I mean, phenomenal growth in the last 3 years.
I'd love to talk to him. I mean, and plus I love Scottsdale. That used to be Kim and I's, Kim was, my wife was a contractor out there with General Dynamics. So that was kind of like our vacation place. And we'd go out there to Scottsdale to kind of relax a little bit. But it's a beautiful area. But the real estate market is what really catches my interest. So we're looking at a lot of buy and hold stuff out there right now. And it's cool, man.
Yeah, I just bought one. I bought one from a buddy of mine that's a wholesale lender, Torsten. And he got me a great deal on this property. I'll be going to look at it here in a couple hours. And I think I paid $205 for it, and we should get $285 to $300 when we flip it. So I'll put 25 to it.
Can't beat that, man.
Still nice returns. A lot of people say Phoenix there's no returns right now. Or no returns. There are some good returns. The market has slowed down a little bit in the higher end above 400,000, but the 250 to 350 range still doing really well.
Cool. Right on, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you getting on. Go spend time with the family. I'm gonna get cooking on to the next thing. Plus, I still want to check on some of my team, or our team, excuse me. I haven't even called everybody yet. I've been trying, just with the fire stuff. So I'm gonna do that. Prep for the other one. Then go on a listing appointment, and then I got the event tonight out in wine country. Oh man, we're packed.
Hello.
What's that?
Tell Michael Hellickson I said hello.
I will, man. He's a good guy. I ended up, I got asked to sit in on this call, and it was a bunch of brokers and stuff, and I didn't know what I was getting into. I just sort of hung out, and they were walking down each one of the broker, kind of their views and what was going on, and then they sort of asked me what I thought. And I'm like, you all are going to hate me because I am like a polar opposite of everything you all said. I am not trying, but it was funny because he was kind of giggling, and then we sort of connected. I'm like, hey man, I got to get you on the real estate Blitz. It'd be really cool. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. But I'll definitely let him know you said hi.
All right, will do.
Cool. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We've been live. We're going to be putting this up on YouTube. We're going to put it on SoundCloud. It's going to go on iTunes pretty soon. Real Estate Blitz, we just started doing a lot of interviews, and we're going to keep trying to interview people that, in my opinion, and luckily, because what's cool about the Real Estate Blitz, it really is my opinion. I want to talk to people that really matter, that also have genuine hearts, that want to help out other agents. So Brent, like I said, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'll make sure that I share this out to you, and I'll let you know when it goes up on YouTube.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Be safe this weekend, and we'll talk to you all later.
All right. Take care.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.